All right, guys. Hey, good morning and welcome to the Get to 20K call. I'm very blessed to be able to have our good friends. We're going to have some fun today. We have three Hall of Fame producers, Colton Duhr, Brandon Kitchings, and Robert Kakish. We're going to be talking today about, in my opinion, how simple it is to go Hall of Fame here at Family First Life, right? I was able to go Hall of Fame in 2020. These gentlemen did it in 2021. Let's dive into it, man. I mean, I just want to have a open, transparent conversation with everybody. So, Rob, you went Hall of Fame last year. How much of it was face-to-face versus virtual?
Honestly, face-to-face was about 99%.
Cool. That's what I figured the answer was going to be from you. What about you, Brandon?
Probably 60%.
And then the other 40% was virtual?
Yeah.
And then this year it's going to be 100% virtual. Some along those lines. What about you, Colton?
Yeah, I mean, everything. I think me and Rob are about the same. We did everything face to face and we didn't really book appointments unless it was face to face. But now I'm 100% virtual myself.
Right. And see, for anybody on the call that's wondering, there's no right or wrong answer, right? Like, that's the beauty of what we have here at Family First Life is we can adjust and get better. When I went face to face, I was 100%, face to face Hall of Fame. So the beauty of what we get to do is we get to adjust with the times. Like something that Brandon and I were talking about, when we had our TNL that one time is, everything we're doing nowadays is almost going toward the virtual way. Like I don't buy groceries at the supermarket. I Instacart it. You know what I mean? Like I don't go to a restaurant. I DoorDash my food and have it come here. I don't see my doctor in person. I just do a telehealth, right? So a lot of our clients are moving that way too. So, I mean, Brandon, what's something that, you made that transition to go from, full-time face-to-face to blending that hybrid model to now slowly going into the, virtual side, strictly on telesales and Zoom. How was that transition and how was it like, for new agents that are scared to hop into that?
Of course, it was a little scary at first, switching everything up, doing a whole lot different than how you did it in the past. But for me, I think the fact that I experienced success right out of the gate, I think I closed my first virtual sale for like $214 a month, and it was like, right. Like this thing works, right? So I think it was just getting past taking the blinders off and believing myself that it would work, so that I could give it my all while I was doing it. Because if you have any doubts about what you do, it's not going to work. Plain and simple. So for me, it was just getting over the doubts and trusting in the process, and then seeing it through, make it a lot easier to stick.
How long did it take for you to get comfortable, I guess you can say?
Probably about a week or so, to truly get comfortable with it. After, and it was almost like the same thing going in the house, right? It takes about a week or so of running appointments, in home to truly get comfortable with what you're doing. So it was pretty much just repeating the same process that I did, working in the house.
I love that. Let's dive into, like, I feel like, the nitty gritty that everybody always tries to skip to, right? Colton wrote 600, right? Brandon and Kakish wrote 400, which is an amazing feat. Colton, what was your lead bill on average for the year, a month?
Probably average is 12 to 13 grand a month.
Okay. What about you, Brandon?
10. I was doing, 10, sometimes a little bit under 10, but typically right around 10.
What about you, Kakish?
15 to 2 a week, so about 8 a month.
8 a month, right? And so, like, what I'm trying to get everybody to understand is, it's a scale. When I went Hall of Fame, my lead bill was like Brandon, 8 to 9 to 10,000 a month, right? Which is how I wrote 40. Colton spends another 2 to 3 grand, which is how he writes 60. I'm sorry to break it to you guys. It's not that Colton's better. He just works harder and spends more money. Like, it's that simple, right? some of you guys don't spend 2,000 a week to write the premium that Kakish and Brandon and Colton are running. Some of you guys spend 500 a week. Okay, that's fine. But the goal is to eventually scale your way up to the point where you're spending 1,000, 1,500 to 2,000 a week. If you're spending more than 2,000, 3,000 a week on leads, you're probably doing something wrong, right? Unless you're writing 50 grand a week where there's no reason to. The goal is to write 10 grand a week. And, you know, what was your schedule like, Kakish? Like, how did you write your 10 grand a week? I mean, all three of you guys, we were almost guaranteed weekend warriors every single week. Like speak to that. Like, what was your appointments like? How much premium were you trying to write, Kakish? Like, what were you trying to do on a weekly basis?
Was to write that 10K a week. You know, we got fixated on that after a while, right? We made it part of the culture. It was 10K a week, 10K a week, 10K a week, because we knew what that did, right? That we knew that we could take care of the office, that we can hire that recruiter. So
Right.
So it was a must. So the schedule was, it was pretty much I'd run on Wednesdays and then on the weekends. Remember, we had that discussion, you know, it's like, you know what, I'm going to take a little time off, and not time off in the field. I'm just going to schedule different to start scaling this agency. Right. And that's
share that with
definitely
everybody, because
focus.
obviously that was a conversation. I mean, the three of us, the three of you guys have ran that tight schedule, but you know, Kakish, the folks on the call don't understand what you're talking about. So share that schedule. What did you do? What was your weekend schedule like? What was your weekday schedule like?
Sure. So Monday, Tuesday, we were in the office and taking care of stuff. So, right. So the dial day actually ended up being Tuesday to run Wednesday. And that was just a light run just to clean up in the area. And then the main focus was sending all my appointments for the weekend only.
Right.
And the reasoning for that is we got to that step, right? I don't recommend that right away for somebody coming in, right? You want to have your money right and your lead flow right to be able to predict how your outcome is going to be that weekend, and your appointment schedule is going to be that weekend. So we got to that point where we ran less but more on those 2 efficient days. Right?
You were
so
compressing the time frame.
Business.
That's what it really is you're taking 1 week of production and squeezing it into 2 days.
Correct.
Right. And so like when you're brand new, and this like, if you're brand new, you can't do that yet. You're not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're brand new, every day is a dial day. Every day you're running until you understand what it takes, quote unquote, to run that 30 appointments in a week to do your 10K, right? What happens is then we take the 6 days and we cut it down to 5 to 4. And so these gentlemen, like what we were working on last year with these gentlemen was we go, hey, on Thursday, what I want you to do on Thursday is I want you to book as many appointments, at least 20 for the next 2 days, on Friday, Saturday. On Friday and Saturday, if you can bang out 10 grand, there's no need for you to go in the office on Monday to dial to run appointments. On Monday, you're just going to go dial and hire agents. See, the other thing that I want to say on this call is all 3 of you guys are senior VPs and above, every single one of you. So it's very rare that you have a Hall of Fame producer that writes a lot of insurance and also has a pretty big agency. Most people have either or. Very rarely do they have both, right? So like, Colton, what was your schedule like? You know, how did you write the premium that you wrote and built a team while doing it too?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely structured chaos, I think, is the word I always like to use.
Good. Structured chaos.
Yeah, that's the one.
And it's gonna be wild, but that's why, like on our call last week, I stayed stuck to income producing activities, and I figured out what those were and what those weren't, and I stayed true to those. And absolutely, if you can go right, like at the premium, all of us on here, right, then you can go get the staff necessary to support you in the agency to do what you need to do and what you're good at. And that's calling leads, dialing, making appointments, selling, talking to new agents, recruiting, that type of deal. It's not to talk to carriers, following up with carriers, changing draft dates, that type of stuff. So knowing what you need to be doing was good, and that freed up the time where when you're at the office, you're working. You're not lollygagging around. You're not messing around, anything like that.
Right. I mean, what I wanted to ask you too, Colton, was like, how long did it take for you to be able to dial it back into that type of schedule where you're running hard for 2 days, right?
Yeah.
And then in the office, the other 3 days, literally just building the team. How long did it take you? How many months, weeks, whatever it was?
I think you were really good at doing that, and you probably did it with all three of us, is just having us go through that when I'm first starting. I mean, it took it probably at least 6 months where I could legitimately go out on a weekend
And bang out 10K.
bang it out and know what I needed to do. But it didn't start there. It started with running 30 appointments through 4 days and getting that 7 to 10 grand. And then I could do 10 grand in 3 days, and then I could go do 20 grand in 2 days.
Right.
But that's just getting better in the house and knowing. I think the big thing is people don't understand is you try and sell a client one way every single time, that's not going to work. There's a lot of times when there's different, the products sell themselves, but there's different ways how these people see how this product's going to help them. And that's where you do a good job as the agent, is asking the questions. Whoever asks the most questions wins. So you need to figure out why you were there and not assume why you're there.
Right. Brandon, I mean, I relate more to Brandon because, you know, I didn't just go out and bang out 20K immediately like the other two guys have, right? And then the other thing was, it took me a few years to write Hall of Fame. I didn't write it in my first full year like the other two guys as well. So Brandon, like, you know, share this with everybody. You know, like you and I, we didn't, like I said, we didn't bang out 20 grand our first month in the business or second month. Like, it took us time to get there. Right. And you know what's crazy, Brandon? Like, I was talking to a group of agents yesterday, and I was like, you know, like when I was brand new and you were brand new, there was people that came in the same time as we did and smoked us. But you know what's fascinating? Most of those guys aren't even here anymore. Right. Like, they probably wrote 20, 30, 40 grand their first month or two. And then like they're getting all this love and recognition and publicity. And then what happens is, like, something happens and they're out. But the guy that sticks and stays, he gets his pay. Right. So like, you went through the grind. Like, this is not your first full year with FFL. You wrote 300 something last year. The year before that, you wrote like 150, 200 something. Like, explain that progression, because everybody on this call is going to go, oh man, I can write 400 grand in my first year. You can, right? Yeah. But like, there's a learning curve too, Brandon. Like, can you talk about how that happened for you?
Yeah, I know, you know, for me, you know, it took me like 8 months to write 20K.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just for me flipping the switch. You know, when I went to the conference in 2020 and had a chance to get around other top producers and hear what they were saying. And so what took me so long to get there is I was in my own way, right? I was in my own way. I was trying to spend the least amount of money each week and write the most amount of business. You know, and that's just not the way it works, right? You know, trying to squeeze leads, squeeze every little bit of juice out of a batch of leads, you know. So I wasn't running the system properly. But once I, you know, went to conference, had a chance to hear from other top producers about stacking the deck in my favor, it just you know, clicked for me right then and there. You know, we came back from conference in 2020, and I went from 17 grand to 33 grand in a month, right? Overnight, and it just clicked. It was like, okay, so I have to stack the deck in my favor. I got to put myself in the best position to go out and do it versus putting myself in a position where I'm gonna have to work even harder to try to make it happen.
Explain to the new agents on the call, what does stacking the deck mean?
Man, it means, you know, for me, it means, you know, whatever amount of leads you think you need to get double. You know, at the end of the day, you know, if somebody tell you not to buy 20, don't go out and buy 20, right? You know, I did that. Steven told me, whatever you do, don't buy 20 leads, Brandon. And I got off the phone with Steven, I bought 20 leads, you know. and I wrote zero premium off those 20 leads. But when I went back and got the right amount of leads, you know, it put me in a position to actually make a profit. But still, again, it's about, you know, getting, because what I quickly learned, you know, from you, to spend 500 on leads is more detrimental to you than to spend 1,000 on leads, right? You know,
it's more scarier.
Yeah, it's more scary, it's more detrimental, because you, like I said, you get less shots at the basket, right? You know, by spending 500, and the difference between spending 500 and spending 1,000 is still just selling one policy to get your money back. right? You know, but now you got that many more opportunities to go after your profit. So once I picked that up, you know, it was like the sky was the limit from there.
I remember when I was brand new and I kind of like you, I was like, all right, I'm just going to buy the minimum, right? All the videos said I only have to buy 500. So that's all I'm going to buy. And what would happen is like when you buy a lead and you would call a lead, because you can only buy so much with $500, right?
Yeah.
And you would call a lead and then be like, no, not interested. And you're like, that was a $15, not interested. Right. And then like the next person you call and they don't answer, you're like, that's another $20. Like that's the feeling you get. But when you buy leads at 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, kind of like you guys do, you guys are like, whatever, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, like you don't care because you're like, I have 100, 150, 200 leads. I'm just trying to set 30 appointments. Like it's literally a numbers game. Now, if I buy 30 leads, 40 leads to try to set 30 appointments, like, dude, that's hard. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, no disrespect to all you guys. I don't think you guys can do that now.
No.
Right. And it's like so many times we see agents, like brand new agents go, okay, I'm going to buy 10 leads. I'm writing 10 grand. No, you're not. Don't do that to yourself. Right. It's like like Brandon says, like, I'm trying to spend the least amount to make the most. It's kind of like, for me, I feel like it's the kid in school that asked the teacher, hey, what's the least amount of work I got to do to get an A?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel most agents do. And that's the reason why I feel they don't have the success right away, or they don't have the success at all because they're not willing to go all in, both feet in, right? So Rob, can you kind of talk to us about it, man? Like now you've done it. Now you've wrote 400 grand, you know, in one calendar year. When you were brand new, because when we first met, that was when I was on my Hall of Fame run too, right? And you kind of saw it and you're like, oh my gosh, like explain how hard you thought it was compared to when you did it and you look back, right? What did you think? Did you go, oh my gosh, that was like the easiest thing I've ever done? Or explain that to people. Like, what was that like for you?
Well, first, when I was seeing you and many others go for this run to literally, it's almost like 500,000, you would say, right? 400,000.
Right.
I was looking, I'm like, man, those guys up there, those guys, 400. I'd be ecstatic to write 250, right? But when I started telling myself and getting very clear on what I needed to do, it became easier, right? Clarity is so powerful. So like when your brain is very clear on what needs to happen, habits and new information start to automatically register.
Right.
So, and that's exactly what happened. I had to be more structured. I had to be more disciplined. And then I just stayed consistent through it. And then little do you know, September, October comes by. I'm getting the call from you, from Bruce. They're like, dude, you're like perfectly on track for Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't even start thinking about it until a month or two ago.
Right.
So now I look back, I'm like, because I did what needed to be done on the selling aspect, month in and month out, when the time comes, which is right now, I'm there.
Right.
So
like you weren't stressing to hit Hall of Fame.
I wasn't stressing. I wasn't.
You and Brandon and Colton did it right. Don't do it my way. That was the dumbest thing I could have done. Like y'all, the nice part, and
75,000.
Everybody on the call know you want to be in December with like 20, 30 grand left to go. You don't want to be in December with 75 grand to go. Like that's stupid. Don't do that. Right. Don't do that. So
we didn't hear from Steven in December.
Oh my gosh. That was like the worst month ever.
He killed it.
But here's the cool part though, Rob. Like now that you've done 400, when you look back on the work you did, do you go, dude, anybody can do that?
You know what? I thought I was going to say otherwise, but I absolutely could say anybody can do that.
Right. That was the best part was when I went Hall of Fame, and you were like, man, like blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, Rob, trust me. Anybody can do this. And you're like, no, you know, that's a lot of interest. No, Rob, I'm not special. It's just work. Right.
And
like that's what I'm trying to get
year.
people to understand is like anybody on this call right now can make a decision right then and there, right now, and go Hall of Fame this year. Whether you're brand new or not, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Like we almost had two more gentlemen that should have joined us on this call, Jonathan Avila and David Chen. First 12 months, banged out 350 grand. And I'm like, right there. You know what I mean? And so that's why all I'm trying to say is like, you can make that conscious decision right now and go 10 grand a week. 10 grand a week, if you do it right, is 520,000 for the year. You're going to not hit 10 grand every week. You're going to miss 15 to 20% of the time. And it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is the ones that you do hit, you're going to hit for like 10 grand. Sometimes you're going to be like Brandon and write 17 grand, right? Sometimes you're going to be like Kakish and write 12 grand on a travel trip. Sometimes you're going to be like Colton, drive a few hours and bang out 10, 20, 30 G's in like 2 days, right? Like you're going to get those numbers in your favor. So now you're not catching up.
Correct.
That's the best part is what by the time you're not catching up, when the numbers are ahead, oh my God, the stress goes down.
Big time.
That's all I'm trying to say, right? So what about you, Brandon? Like now that you've done Hall of Fame, because last year you were on the cusp, right? You were like 1 month away from going Hall of Fame. This year you smashed it. What is that like when you look back at the work that it took?
I mean, like Rob said, it's really, I realized that I could have did more. It was like the first time when I did it, right? The first time when I did the 33,000 in a month, right? I was trying to do 20K, couldn't do it. Then I went from 17K to 33K. You and I sat down that month after I did the 33K and we broke it down. And I was I was like, wow, I could have did more, right? That's what's so crazy about it. When you break it down and look at my year, there were days that I didn't go as hard as I could have gone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's Brandon, and that's normal. We're not psychotic. We don't go 100 miles an hour, 365 days a year. We have time to spend with family too. Let's be real about that, right? Like I know Colton doesn't work on Sundays because he's spending time with his kids. That's the reason why he works his butt off for those 6 days that he's actually working. Same thing with you, Brandon.
Yeah.
Right. So there's days that we don't go 100 and it's okay because we're human.
Right. And I would say the biggest thing for me, what I found from hitting Hall of Fame, and for any new agent, any agent out there that haven't done it, if you're going to make that decision to do it, the best way to do it, you can't think about the money. The money can't be your goal. Plain and simple. Your goal can't be 400,000. Your goal can't be 10,000 a week. That cannot be anywhere in your thought process. Because if you're doing it for the money, as soon as the money doesn't come, you're going to shut off. You're going to shut down, right? Yeah. So for me, my goal on my wall every week that I was looking at throughout the entire year of 2021 was 10 families a week. Yeah. That was my goal. Yeah. 10 families per week. The average sale here is $1,000 AP. So I know if I go help 10 families every week, that I had a great shot of submitting $10, $15, $20,000 worth of business just by going out and focusing on the 10 families, right? And if you do that, there's no way that you don't hit your goal if you really care about helping people and you're here for that, to help people. But if you're here for the money, I don't care who you are.
Out for the money too. That's the reason why, Brandon, like we talked about earlier, is like some people smoked you in the beginning and they're not here no more because they were literally just here for the money.
Correct.
It's commission breath all day long, right? And then after you get a few chargebacks or you don't want to work anymore and you take time off, and it's not really about taking care of other people and other families, clients' families, you're out. It's really easy, for that to happen. So like Colt, I want to ask you, right? Because you did it completely different than myself, Brandon, Kakish. Like we all hit Hall of Fame in December. You hit Hall of Fame in like June. so like, wow. How'd you do it, man? Like, how'd you do that?
Yeah. I think the funny thing is, I bet if Brandon started virtual in January, he would have done 600 too. Cause I swear he banged out like 200-300 grand in under 6 months, it seemed, but it might not have been that bad, but I bet this year that's where you see Brandon, because he killed it. He's getting so many more families protected. But I mean, yeah, I think what I heard is on one of our managers' call is, and what I really liked is when now I just blanked on his name. Who'd you
Eric Schmidt?
No, Zach.
Easton,
gosh. Apologize, but yeah, I mean their conversation in their group, you see their group issue paid numbers, it's on another level than where everyone else is on our team. And it's not it's not like they don't have the Hall of Fame questions talks. They've got the big boy Hall of Fame groups. And when it's funny, like I was busting my tail. I was trying to be the top 10 to hit Hall of Fame in the entire company, and I missed it by like a couple dollars. Right. And I was the 11th person to do it. But so I mean, by all means, it's always consistency, because I don't think I might have made the number one list maybe once on FFL USA's group.
I don't think you've ever have.
Yeah, and
I'm just being 100% honest.
Yeah. And but I was on the board every single week and every single month. And I think that's consistently being able to do that is, I think, why I was able to sustain what I was doing. Because sometimes you have those people are banging out 100 grand months now, but sometimes those people that are doing the 100 grand months, then you don't see them for a couple months.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of people's mistake is being here and being out. And then when you come back, it's a lot harder to get going. So I just made sure I was consistent. I treated it like a job. I'm gone on my work days. My schedule is laid down to a T on when I'm working and when I'm with the family. You helped me with all that, but I mean, it's probably not a really great answer, but I mean, consistency kind of beats everything else.
Dude, I love that answer. And here's why, right? Like Paul McLean was that guy. He's like you. And what I mean by that is the reason why I know you never went number one in Andrew's group is because I was dying as an agency manager to post Colton Duhr, the number one agent in 3,500 agent hierarchy in FFL USA. And I never got to make that post because you never came in number one, and not in a bad way. But here's the reason why Colton never came in number one. Colton would write 40, 50, 60, like religiously. Right. And everybody else, like Colton said, they would spike one month and write 80. The next month they write 125. Another agent writes 100. The next month, someone writes a big annuity for 150,000. And then like the next month, a new agent comes out and, writes this, but it's not the same person. But what I found out was Colton was always within the top 5, top 10, usually every single month. And then at the end of the year, out of, I don't know, Andrew has like freaking 9,000, 10,000 agents. You finished number 2 by like a few bucks. You know what I mean? Like in the coast to coast hierarchy, you were the number one agent. Like, but that's the thing is like, it's just, we're just really good at doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like what we do is not sexy. We buy leads, we call them, we help them. Like there's no new juice to that, but we just got really good at doing the mundane, like going to lift weights, like Rob, like Rob, you're jacked. Like lifting weights is boring. Think about it. Like you go to the gym to lift the weight and then go home. Like there's nothing exciting about that, but the result that you receive is exciting. The result that we get from running appointments, which is the money we make, the families we get to help, taking care of our own family, not having to worry about money, that's exciting. But the actual job of what we do, it's not exciting. But that's what we've got good at. Like the three of you guys on the call is you've gotten so good at you master the mundane. Like, where's Brandon? Brandon's in his office right now. Is it hard to see? Colton's in his office. Same thing with Rob. Like it's, for some of you guys, like you guys got in the office at 5 a.m. You got so good at the mundane. And the beauty is you only got to do it for a few years, because guess what? I guarantee you next year, none of y'all are going to be in the field. Y'all are going to have $1 million plus businesses, right? That's the beauty of it, is you get to lead from the front and show people the way. I think that's what I like the most about this. So, the other thing I wanted to ask you guys too is when you hire agents now, because all you guys have teams that you guys are all doing at least 300 grand. When you hire agents and that conversation happens, right? Because in my opinion, when I went Hall of Fame, and a lot of the agents that I saw go Hall of Fame, like the recruiting became so easy, because you're like, look, dude, I sold 400. Even if you did half of what I did, you do 200, which is not a bad gig, right? But you can do 400. Trust me, you can do more than me. But how's that conversation like now that you've done it? How's that conversation like with the agents you hire, because you've done it? It's not this fictitious thing anymore. right? Rob, like answer that for me.
Absolutely. And we actually just talked about this on the last call too. One of the major reasons, obviously besides for myself and my family financially, was to absolutely prove to the group that it can be done.
Yep.
It's, to instill belief in the everyday person and the everyday new agent on somebody with their first full year, and then literally with a pen and pad, blueprint out the same thing for them is a beautiful feeling. Right. And then at that point, it's just work ethic and dedication. Is that person going to stick to it? Right. And that's when sometimes a lot of people fall off because they, it has to be sustained. But to make it absolutely 1000% believable to everybody in the group, is a major deal. And just like Colton hitting it, Brandon hit it, it even instills more belief in my people. There was a few people that got it done.
Right.
So to open up that door, just like you did when you hit it, it makes things a lot easier, and it
raises the bar, and it lifts the lid off.
Raise the standard.
Is what it is. It is like the 4-minute mile, right? Like it's like something that people go, man, that can't be done. That can't be done. That can't be done. And then when Roger Bannister hit the 4-minute mile, like a year later, like 15 people hit the 4-minute mile as well. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like Brandon, what is it like for you? Because I know you're hiring and working with a ton of agents. I mean, you did like 60 new agent calls last week, getting their goals and helping them write business. Like when you're having that conversation with people, what's that like? What's that like?
I mean, it's totally different from last year. Because again, I'm just replicating exactly what you did for me. You laid the game plan out for me, showed me exactly what it was going to take, but you also let me know that this can't be done if you don't make the decision to do it. Right. And so that's the conversation that I'm having with my agents now. I can lay the blueprint out for you because I've done it. This is the blueprint, but this can't be done if you don't make the decision yourself to go do it. Right. I can want it for you as bad as ever. But if you don't want it for yourself, guess what? You're not going to hit Hall of Fame. You're not going to even hit the goal that you set for yourself, this year. So for me, it's not, it was just about being able to lay the game plan out and talk about the things that really allowed me to hit it, which was 3 things. And I think I talked about it on the call. It was the commitment first and foremost, committing to the goal, right? Whatever the goal is, commit to it, right? You got to fully commit to it. And then you got to make sacrifices. You know what I'm saying? You have to make sacrifices. There's nothing great comes without sacrifice. I don't care. Tom Brady didn't get as great as he is without sacrificing something along the way. Right. Kobe Bryant didn't get as great as he was without sacrificing something along the way. Like you have to make sacrifices, and then you got to be disciplined. Mm-hmm. You got to be disciplined all the way through with the commitment and the sacrifices. And if those 3 are not lining up, I don't care what you're trying to do. It's not going to happen. So that's the conversation that I'm having now. It's totally different from, before, where I'm just telling, hey, this can be done. You can do it. You can. Now I'm telling you how it has to be, how it has to be done.
This is the road I took. Just follow suit. Right. I already blazed the trail for you. Just walk in the line. Just walk in the path instead of saying you got to blaze your own trail.
Correct.
I mean, that's the beauty of this whole thing is all you guys and the folks that we've worked with before, they were like, hey, this is how I did it. Just walk that path. Yeah. You got to figure it out and learn on your own. Right. And you said something like that I really enjoyed. You said commitment. And my definition of commitment is doing the thing you said you were going to do, even when you long after the mood you set it in has left you. Because like a lot of us will go to conference is happening in a few days. And a lot of us on the call will be like, I'm going Hall of Fame, because you're in an environment that causes you to say that.
Yeah.
And then what happens is once you get home, that feeling leaves you. But you made a commitment, but now you're like, I don't need to go Hall of Fame no more, because that's like going to the gym.
Yeah.
New year, new me. Right. And then after the first week, they're like, I'm good. Right. That's the thing is commitment is doing the thing you said you were going to do long after the feeling that you said it in has left you. And so for me, like, I love that, B, because I've always said with sacrifice, you got to give up and grow up in order to go up. Mm-hmm. And it's like what we always say is we sacrifice many things. We either sacrifice fun times. Like you said, Kobe Bryant gave up his childhood to become a professional basketball player. Right. But he's one of the greatest of all time for that reason. Like he sacrificed having a personal life While most kids are out there partying, drinking, having fun, he's in the gym getting shots up, right? We sacrifice a little bit of time with our family right now because we're going to have all the time with our family when the business is taken care of. You know what I mean? Like that's the sacrifice. We got to let go of something. I sacrificed the two things that I enjoy, my personal hobbies, which were basketball and golf. My Hall of Fame run last year, I haven't played basketball in like 2 years, legitimately. I haven't played golf in a minute. Like, and I was playing a lot, but it was the two things that I endured that I was like, I have to give it up to be able to have the life that I want. Right. Colton, what about you, man? Because, you know, when we talk to agents and they go, man, Colton is like so chill. I'm like, I know, that's just why he sells so much. Right. But like, they go like, he wrote 600 and he's not like anything special or anything. I'm like, no, he just works harder than you.
That's it.
You know, share that with everybody. Like when you talk to agents on how they can go Hall of Fame, what is the conversation that you have with them?
Right. Yeah. And kind of just bring it back. I'm kind of the same with like what Rob's saying is like, I can go do it. If I can go do it, I'm going to prove that I can and show you that I'm not special. And I mean, and bringing it back, that's why I loved like in college, like all my coaches, they did everything that we were doing as athletes. They were wrestling with us. They were going on the 6, 7, 8 mile runs with us. Like they were putting in the same work there. So I'm not and it's the same thing. I'm not going to ask someone or tell someone go do this without doing it myself.
Right.
And I'm going to prove that I can do it. And even if you think it's impossible, okay, I'll go write 600. Now 400 is still possible, even if you think what I did is impossible. Right. And I mean, I just had a game plan call with another guy the other day. We had a great new agent call, and he called me after. He's like, what you're saying is awesome. What I'm hearing is amazing, but do you truly think I can do that? And I'm telling him, no, you can, if that's your way of thinking. Right. Because if you think you can't do it, you won't. But if you think you can, you will. Right. It's up to you and your confidence. But it's coming back to setting the right goals and expectations and the why. So kind of like what you just that quote, I can't even repeat it, was so nice. But but yeah, like when the going gets tough, you've got to figure out why you're doing it and keep moving forward. So if you don't want to go do the 400, then don't. But I mean, if I'm telling people, if you've got more than $5,000 in personal bills, 5 to 7 or more, you've got to go write 30 grand to be comfortable. Right. You have to. And that's dang near Hall of Fame right there. Right. So that's why I truly believe everyone can do it. And I truly believe everyone should do it. Otherwise, you're going to continue to be on that roller coaster, especially if you're not building a business. So go out there and slay it personally. And when you start slaying it personally, you're automatically going to start building a business. People are going to see you doing great things, and they're going to want to come and be a part of it.
You know, I think that's the beauty of what we have here is, you know, Sean Mike always says, all of us, we're all a little bit messed up in us. Right. And I firmly believe that. And here's what I mean by that. I was that guy, Colton, that you had a conversation with. Brandon, you remember that first podcast we did with Sean?
Yeah.
The very first podcast we did with Sean. Yeah. And after the podcast turned off, like the lights turned off, I was like, Sean, sometimes I don't think I deserve this. Like, I don't think I deserve the money that at the time I was making. Right. And now, hell yeah, I earn every dollar I make. Right. But at the time, no way. And here's what I mean. It's like, some of us have never made the type of money we made here. Flat out. And so when there's people on stage that go, you can make 40 grand a month. And you're like, bro, I ain't even make 5 grand a month. What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. But what happens is once you crack that first 20, and this is the conversation I have with everybody. Once you crack that first 20, it does something for your psyche that goes, that's it. That's the reason why when Brandon hit his first 20K month, he didn't hit 20, he hit 30, right? He went from 17 to 33. We went back. I didn't go, how hard was it? Because it wasn't. And I was like, how simple was it? And can you repeat the activity? And he was like, dude, I could have done more. Yeah. Because once you have that shift in your mind that you can do more, you go do more. Yeah. Because then you can go, oh, it's repeated. it's repeatable. I can replicate this. It wasn't some exhausting thing. When I banged out that 75 G's in December last year, what was fascinating was when I was done with the month, I looked back and I was like, was I exhausted? No. A little bit tired, probably, because I worked more than I ever have. Can I go do it again if I need it? Oh, yeah. And that was when I was like, dude, Steve Giordano just did what I did, but for 12 months in a row. That's it. It wasn't like, I was like, if I wanted to go write $1 million worth of business, I can do it next year. That was the unlock in my brain. And so for those of you guys that have that belief, and self-doubt that I did, right? Because I doubt myself every day. Like, who are you to think that you deserve to have this, that, and the other? Like, all it takes is for the easiest way for you to build confidence is through hard work. And what happens is, like Brandon said, don't chase the money, just chase helping people and doing the right things. The way I found out I wrote 20 grand was I didn't know. I just worked that month. And then at the end of the month, I pulled my bank statement and I was like, oh, they paid me 29 G's this month. Like, that was pretty easy, So as we wrap this up and we're going to open up some Q&As, Rob, any closing remarks for people that want to go Hall of Fame? I mean, I know what we do is hard. It's hard work. The process is really simple. And it stays, like Brandon says, consistency, the discipline, and the sacrifices that we got to have, right? But like, anything that you would close this call with before we do Q&As on what you think people need to do to go Hall of Fame?
Well, the first thing is, yeah, absolutely, is find out your why, right? We talk about the why a lot, right? You can't wake up in the morning, do all this activity, get structured and do all this and you don't even know where you're going. What is the purpose, right? So my thing was to escape the rat race, create the freedom, and then put my parents in this situation, put my parents in a position where I don't need to see, even though they have a mortgage and everything, I don't want to see how they're barely doing it. Right. I'm at unease all the time because of that. So my whole thing was what's your why? Right. And my reason is to set up my future family and take care of my current family. Right. And when you write at a level of a Hall of Fame level, $400,000 a year, you're able, just like we talk about, to influence, right? To influence on a different scale, right? So my mother's birthday was yesterday. I'm going to purposely bring this out, not to flex, but because all the new agents here, Stephen, so they can see this is real, okay? So we're taking care of the parents' mortgage for the next 4 months, right? And this is what a Hall of Fame can do for you. Right. And we're going to make it a marketing thing, right? Here, mom, dad, the next 4 months is taken care of. We're good. Right. Family First Life has made that happen, right? The structure we hear has made that happen. The training we hear, the environment, it's 100% doable, and you are worth it and you can do it. But the commitment has to be made. Simple as that.
I love that, man. What about you, B?
Wow. I don't know how I'm going to follow that.
Hey, Rob, let me hold some of that, man.
Yeah, anytime, baby. You help.
Nah, but just definitely, following that, man. As a new agent, man, like I said, you really just got to make the decision for yourself that you want to do it, and it can be done. I mean, at the end of the day, so it's just about understanding and knowing like exactly what you want, and once you know what you want, then you can go get it. You can make it happen, and it's all about believing. If you can believe it, you can achieve it. At the end of the day, so for me, if you're here, evidently you've already made a decision that this is something that you want. Right. Why play with it? Right. Why play with it? Why extend the process? We want to fast track this process and get you to where you need to be a lot sooner. Not have you step on the landmines that we've maybe stepped on. Coming through first. And so just listen to what the people above you are saying. And like I always say, take your brain out. If you're a new agent, stop thinking. That's where you're hurting yourself at. You're thinking too much. Stop thinking and just do what the people that have already done it, tell you to do. And that's all I did. Once I stopped thinking, like when Stephen, when you told me not to buy 20 leads, I thought I was thinking, I said, I didn't buy 20 leads because I was using my brain. I wasn't using your brain. right? You know what I'm saying? And so stop thinking, because you're hurting yourself every time you think about what you need to do, because you don't know what you need to do.
Right.
All you need to do is just follow the system and do the things, and we can get it done.
I love it, man. Colton, what about you as we wrap this up?
Yeah. Since Rob want to flex on him, I got my stack right here too.
Damn. Oh, I didn't come prepared. Lord.
Nah, it's all fake, but
this is a Hall of Fame call, baby.
That's Chris Kelly, new agent. He just got these, and when he sits with the client, he's like, "How would you feel next time I come back? Is I'm giving this to your family." It's very, very tangible.
That is a really good illustration.
Yeah,
that's
so
nice.
He's like, I either leave here, and next time I come back, I'm giving you this, or I'm coming back empty-handed. Which one do you want?
Hey, that's a selling nugget right there. I like that.
Strong.
That's good.
That was good.
Brand, really
first
good.
Brand, whole time, first week here with us. He's killing it. But I thought that was funny, so I had him.
Nice.
But back to your question. I'll kind of do it a different way, because what Rob and Brandon are saying are absolutely great answers. And I don't want to give the same answer, but really I think what changed it, it's all mindset. What changed my mindset is, I mean, growing up, like, I never had any self-confidence. I didn't believe I could really do anything. Only thing I was ever good at growing up was wrestling. And I knew I was good at wrestling because I told myself I was. But then when I got into the classroom, I was an average student. I thought I was dumb. And so other people thought I was dumb. So I didn't think I could do anything else outside of that. But like my senior year in college, my mindset switched. And I think it switched because I had a family and I had to grow up. But it's having that confidence that if I can outwork anyone in the wrestling room, what's different than outworking anyone in the classroom, outworking anyone in the real world, the work. And when I went to every job, it's like, and I heard The Rock say this, like, he was talking to, I think, some Alabama or some big D1 school, like, I respect the hell out of all of you, but you will not outwork me. And it's stayed true to that. If I was and it started with like manual labor jobs, is like, I'm not smart, but I will outwork anyone that I'm here with, and I'll be the best worker. I'll be the best employee, whatever it is. And it transitioned when I found this, and it's because I learned all those things. Is when I came into here, it's the same thing. I will outwork anyone. It's not manual labor anymore. It's an absolutely different type of work, but no one is going to put in the work. And there's absolutely probably harder workers than me at the company, 100%. But I tell myself there isn't. My wife doesn't think there's a harder worker than me, because she sees me coming home tired every day. But it's having that mentality that no one is going to outwork me. Be the hardest worker in the room, be the hardest worker in the office. And once you're the hardest worker in the office, go find another office, right, and go be the hardest worker in that office. If you do all those things, the Hall of Fame stuff comes, the success comes, the money comes, comes. That's all going to follow it. But that's what I would recommend if anyone, because if anyone was like me, only reason you're not doing something because you're lacking confidence somewhere. And it's probably stemmed from a fear that you can't touch. It's not tangible. A fear is just another thing that's stopping you. So punch fear in the throat and go buy some leads and start calling.
I love it. That's a good way. That's a good way to end it right there. Go ahead, B. You want to say something?
Just piggyback on that, because thank you, Colton, for going through that. Because one of the other things that really made it simple for me was just really understanding what we're doing. Like, you think what we do is hard work. It's not. Like, it's not hard, right? You know, yes, we work hard, but what we do is not hard, right? When I really started thinking about, if you think about your ancestors, right? Think about all of us. Think about your ancestors. Our ancestors, people before us, they worked hard.
Right.
I know my grandmother, she picked cotton. In order for her to make $400,000 picking cotton, she had 10 cents a pound. She had to pick 4 million pounds of cotton. That would have been hard.
That's hard.
That would have been hard.
How about weather outside too?
Right. You know what I'm saying? Me going out and helping families, these families, take care and secure their legacies. That's not hard. So once I really understood what hard was, it was easy for me to just go do this work day in and day out. Because what I do is not hard. You know what I'm saying? It's not. So I just want to leave it with that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
And I want to end it off with this too, because Colton and Brandon brought up the fear thing, which I think is such a massive deal. Everybody knows what it stands for, false evidence appealing real. But if there was no such thing as fear, there would be too many successful people.
Right.
So imagine right when that fear is gone, or when you break through, no pun intended, when you break through that fear, what ends up happening? There's a breakthrough.
Yeah.
So that fear, guys, that thing has to be manhandled somehow. You have to remove it in order to level up your life. So therefore, raise your standards and make 2022 a damn good year.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to share this with you guys before we go to Q&A, if we have time for it. My thing is, you can't eliminate fear because it's a feeling that always stays with you. But what you can do is you can channel it, right? And if you use fear properly and you can control the fear, I think it can usher your way into success. And here's what I mean by that. Like water. Water, in a good way, can hydrate you. Your body's made up of it. It can keep you alive, right? Because if you go a few days without water, you're dead. Water not controlled properly can drown you, can flood an entire city, can be a hurricane, right? Fire, same thing. Fire controlled properly can heat up a home, keep you warm and cozy, right? All those, it can heat up your food. Fire not controlled properly can burn down everything you have. Fear is the same way. Fear controlled properly can usher you into success. The fear of failing and not being able to provide for my family will force me to produce the things I need to do. Too much fear that I don't have control of gives me the fear of not getting started. I don't pick up the phone and dial or do the things I need to do. So I'm here to tell you there's no way to eliminate the fear. It's can you control and channel the fear in the way that it helps you do the very things you need to do. Does that make sense? So let's dive into the Q&As real quick. Caleb's asking, how do you guys get new agents started? Week 1, dial day 1. Where are you guys, each starting them to get results? Brandon, you can answer that one.
For me, it's just getting getting leads in new agents' hands right away. Getting them dialing the phones and going through the script, because that's where it all starts at. We gotta start our engines, and so that's the biggest thing for me as a new agent. And I'm trying to work with a lot of new agents to get on my Zoom dial every day, so that I can help them, move faster, because, it's like if you have a car, you have a problem with your engine making a noise, you take it to the mechanic, right?
Right.
And you ask them to diagnose what's going on. They ask you to crank the car up and you refuse to crank the car up. How can they tell you what's going on with it, right? They can't even listen to the engine to tell you what's going on. If your valve is knocking, if your timing is off, they can't tell you because you won't crank the car up. So that's why I'm asking my agents to get on the Zoom dial with us, so I can hear what you're saying, so we can hear you, so we can hear your engine run, and then we can diagnose and tweak things like, oh, your timing is off, we need to bump the timing up, right, or and things like that. So for me, it's just really working with the new agents that really want to do it, and they're going to put the work in and do the things that's necessary to take themselves to the next level. But it's about getting them dialing, getting leads in hand, getting them dialing soon, getting them failing forward a lot faster, because that's all we do. We all fail. We all suck. And I'm telling all agents, you're going to suck on the phone in the beginning. We all suck, right? We all suck in the beginning, right? But that word suck is also in the word success, right? So we're going to suck our way to success, right? And the ones that get it, that are doing it, we're making it happen, and so for me, it's just about just getting agents moving faster.
I love that. This is for you, Rob. This is from Chris Kelly. So I'd rather have you answer it, not Colton, because he works with him. How do you overcome the tough mental days that seem like nothing is working? I haven't had one yet, but I want to hear how you guys deal with it.
Is I look at this is the time when I do compare. I do look at other successes, right? Because it's not going to always be butter. There's going to be hurdles. There's going to be unmotivated days. But I learned, coming from how intense corporate was, even on the days before I started FFL, even on the days where you don't want to do it and you still do it, at the end of the day, you look back and you're like, you know what? It felt better that I did.
Confidence.
It felt
Dude,
better.
Going to the gym when you don't want to go to the gym makes you feel better.
Always. And those are the sickest workouts.
Right. And you know what's funny is like I used to say this to the kids that I used to coach when I was coaching high school basketball. I said, successful people and unsuccessful people have something in common. They don't want to do those things, but successful people find a way to do it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I love how you said that you kind of look at the leaderboard and, compare yourself to others, because there are times where you're like, man, what I'm going through sucks. Like I might have a bad day in the field, but I call Brandon and Brandon just sold 8 in a row. Brandon's going to light me up and probably give me that energy I need to go sell my next one. Guess what? Next week, Brandon might be in a slump. So Brandon going to have to call me or Colton or you, Rob, and be like, man, I'm getting smoked in the field. And Colton's like, what are you talking about smoked in the field? I just sold 15 G's in like 3 homes, right? Like it's a bouncing off and using other people's story to keep us afloat, because nothing's sunshine and rainbows.
No,
we'd be lying if it was. Like someone asked me the other day, like, how often you want to quit? I'm like, damn near every day. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny we say that because of what we do and the amount of money we make, but it's a joke, but it's not, because like there's little things we're like, man, like that sucks, but we deal with it because we're grown-ups. So Colton, this question is for you. Is from one of Rob's agents, so I'd rather have you answer it. What are some of the things to help you stay mentally tough during your Hall of Fame run? You're on mute.
Starts with self-talk. Mental toughness is trained, so it's just getting better every day. That's the reason for our FFL breakthrough, our name. Is you're just gotta hit your limit every single day where you're mentally broke, and that comes in our business. It comes with the dialing. You mentally can't dial more than 150 dials your first dial day. Well, that means tomorrow you're going to be better and you're going to get 200. Now that's your limit again, and then you're going to keep pushing through that. And the same thing with overcoming objections. I couldn't overcome this objection. That's when I get an objection, I fail, or I can't overcome that. Then you get that one objection, you get that down, and then it's on to the next one. But all that kind of works together. But it comes back to kind of that self-talk. I promise you, everyone on here that has their great dial days, they're in a great mood. They're talking to themselves before they start their dial day. Like when I first started, I would treat a dial day like before like a wrestling match. Like it's positive self-talk. Like these people fill out a form. It's my job to help them. If I don't help them, if they pass away, that's on my conscience. If I don't do it, no one else is going to do it. And if you go in with that mindset, like you're going to kill. But if you go in, crap, I hope I don't get an objection. Like there goes your confidence. You're mentally ready. Like I probably, no one's going to answer today. I'm starting later than I wanted to. This is going to be a bad dial day. I'm 2 hours behind. I knew I should have woke up earlier. Like those 2 dial days are going to be completely different. But to be honest with you, we all have them. But how you react to curveballs getting thrown at you is the difference between that top producer, that mentally tough person, and the mentally weak person that isn't consistent.
Right. The biggest enemy is the inner me. For that, right? Brandon, this one's for you. You mentioned 30 leads isn't enough to set a good enough appointments. How about 30 leads for 1 call closes?
No. Still not enough.
Yeah, no way.
No way.
100 minimum.
Yes, I mean, you don't want to be working any dial session with a minimum of 100 leads, with any less than 100 leads. regardless of what type of lead type you're dialing, that you're working, you want at least 100 leads, to have a solid dial session. And I would say more 150, 200. If we're working, CRM leads and things like that, we got to stack the deck. And you just take it to the point to where you buy the money you're spending still has you in a position where you only got to sell one lead.
Right.
So that's why I like $1,000, and you do that twice a week. On these before each dial day, $1,000 on Sunday, $1,000 on Wednesday. And I guarantee you put up over 10K for the week if you do that and you stay consistent with it. But again, you only got to help one family to get your money back. And so definitely you want 100 plus leads. 30 won't cut it.
Right. I'm going to answer these next two and make it quick. Did you have staff before you went Hall of Fame? Every single one of us have staff before we went Hall of Fame. Matter of fact, that's the reason why you need to have staff is because you're going to go Hall of Fame and write that much business. There's no way you're going to be able to follow up with your clients. Like when your clients call to go, hey, I need to change my policy date to this date. Hey, I need a policy because I don't know where it went. Hey, who do I have to carry? Like you can't do that.
No,
there's no way you can.
There's no way you can go Hall of Fame without staff.
Yeah, there's no way.
Plain and simple. Yeah, because you're going to be doing so many non money making activities that you're not going to be able to get to it.
Right. 100%. So last question. When first starting out, is there a certain amount or percentage of money you would withhold from a policy for your lead account? Explain the process. I'm answering this question because this is what I've always taught everybody. This is how you don't go broke in this business. Great question, Kevin. Yeah. Whatever the insurance companies pay me, I'm taking half of that and moving it into my lead account, and I'm taking the other half and I'm putting it in my expense account. My expense account is either payroll for myself, paying my mortgage. That's like personal bills, staff bills, all that stuff. My lead bill always have money because if there's no money, there's no leads, there's no business. Flat out. Meaning if America paid me $3,000 tomorrow, I take 1,500, I put it in my leads. I take the other 1,500, I put it in expense. Guess what that account has now? Zero. I got to get my butt back to work. It's really that simple. Next day, they deposit me $1,000, 500 into this account, 500 into this account. Why do I do that? Because everybody, especially that is brand new, they're very emotional when they invest in leads, meaning they go, I only have $600 left in my bank account, meaning I can only buy $300 worth of leads and it has to work. That's a very bad place to be in, rather than being able to say, hey, I have $2,500 in that lead account, 1,000 on Monday, 1,000 on Thursday. I'm good because I still have money left over. And I know that if I spend 1,000 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to have 15, 20 appointments. I'm going to probably get another 5 to 10 G's deposited on Wednesday. I can start this process all over again. If you do it right, you only have to buy leads once, which is your initial purchase. You spend your 1,000 one time, you make the money, you reinvest it back into your business. And at that point, it's self-perpetuating. If you don't do it that way, that's where people get blown out of the business. We have agents that Andrew likes to call going to Disneyland. They make 10 G's. And guess what they do? They take all 10 and go to Disneyland or go on vacation, take their family out, blow that money, buy things they shouldn't buy. And then what happens is when they come back, they have no money for leads, a few policies canceled, and now they are in the hole with some carriers. So where when they go to work and they make their first 2-3 sales, they're not getting paid for it.
Yep.
So now they feel like they're working for nothing, and they play the carrier roulette game. What that means is they go, oh, I owe America 2 G's. I write a policy with America, I'm not going to get paid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go write it with JH. And what happens is you start getting in the hole with every single one of the carriers, and then we always come back and sue you.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So like, don't do that. Don't do that. That's horrible. What you should do is take a part of the money that you're going to make, because policies will fall off. 30% of the policies will fall off, 20 to 30, depending on how good or bad you are. Take that money, put it aside. How do you stay ahead and get profitable is by working seriously, right? If I asked every single one of these gentlemen what they made last year, I guarantee you they deposited on their personal pen plus the overrides on their team last year. Each one of these guys made over $500,000 plus. I don't even have to think. I don't even have to look at the books. Why? Because I did that last year. You know what I mean? And all our numbers are the same. Cancellations are the same. Persistency is the same. Team volume is the same. Hall of Fame production, all that. Same thing. So take the money that you make and put it away, set it aside for leads, let your business run on autopilot, and then you'll be good to go. All right. Hey guys, I appreciate all three of you gentlemen for hopping on. This was great. This was fun. That whole Kakish bringing out money thing was kind of cool. That'll be one for the books. And then Colton bringing out fake money. Love that. But we have this call every Tuesday, 7 a.m. Our goal is to get every single one of you guys to 20K, right? Once you get to 20, this stuff becomes really simple. That's where the Hall of Fame talks come in. If you need any questions, or you need any help, and you want to know how to go Hall of Fame, reach out to these gentlemen here, whether through Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. They'll be more than glad to show you how they did it. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Let's make it a great week. See you guys soon.
Absolutely. Take care, everyone.